And welcome back to the Rock Shop Podcast. I'm your host, Rye the Tiger, and I have some very special guests tonight, and they are
Alex Javo.
Angelina Bazzelli.
I'm Dwayne Bontrager.
wow, got three whole people, and usually there's zero. Usually I'm just talking to myself. That's crazy. What brings you three on the podcast tonight?
We're here to promote our new movie that just came out on Amazon Prime Video. It's called Ambrogio, the First Vampire.
Wow. I love going to Walmart and catching a movie. Is there any chance I could even see Ambrogio?
Yes, it is available now on the Walmart's website for the DVD. It's also available on Amazon as well for the DVD or the digital. You can buy or rent the film. And yes, more streaming platforms coming.
Yes, I'm holding out hope for the Criterion release. That'd be pretty hype.
Yes, we're open to anything and everything that our movie can get on. We're stoked to have it out there.
So, what do you three do? Like, what's your roles in this?
In this particular film, I directed it. I wrote the screenplay with my screenwriting partner Taz Lake. I produced the movie with these two, and I star in it as Ambrogio.
As Alex mentioned, Dwayne and I also produced this film, but I play Sarah, who is the co-lead, the romantic interest of the film. I also was the second assistant director. I helped in the post-production with editing and all the fun paperwork for distribution. And I also choreographed the little dancey dance you see in the film.
That was cool. I'm waiting for that to be like a TikTok trend.
That'd be cool.
What about you, Dwayne?
Yeah, well, first, I just want to tack on that Angelina also edited the awesome trailer that everybody's seeing right now. So you seem to fail to mention that, Angelina. But I thought it turned out it's so good. Anyways, I am the cinematographer and editor. So that was my big roles on this project.
Okay, that's awesome. Yeah, I've seen the film. I rented it, and I love seeing, independent cinema. They're just, to me, I love Nirvana. I love, you know, uh, grunge music as a whole genre because it's so real. This is like real emotion. Um it's underground artistry, and like I've always loved those smaller bands. You don't really get a whole lot of that nowadays because it's so produced. But this film it was produced very well, but it wasn't in the studio system, and I think it's just something you wouldn't really see in a theater. It took familiar concepts and did some interesting things with it that I'm really curious and I had questions about. But I was hoping before we get too ahead of ourselves, if could explain what the film is, the story, and all that. What's
Well,
happening here?
Ambrogio is like in the title, the first vampire in Greek mythology. I came across this Greek myth a number of years ago in 2019. I was auditioning for different vampire shows and projects around the Atlanta area, and I just wasn't getting cast as the vampire roles. And so I saw this myth online, and I thought, man, this would be a great thing to make. And and what drew me to the story was the fact that it's not your typical vampire film where it's based in ancient Greek period with Greek gods attached, or being the catalyst for creating the first vampire, because as we all know, you have to get bit to turn into a vampire. But where did this vampirism come from? And so that's what drew me, and that was so interesting. Was it was different. It was a different kind of story that we hadn't been told before. And like many romantic vampire films and shows, it had a romantic element to it, to where it was like a love triangle type of situation, where the ordinary man, the Italian man Ambrogio, goes to ancient Greece and falls in love with turns out to be a slave girl, Selene, of the sun god Apollo. And Apollo gets mad, curses him to where he gets burnt when he goes into the sunlight. And then that's what starts the downfall. He finds Hades out of desperation, loses his soul, and so on. And so when I read this myth, I thought it was very very cool, very different. And I just knew I just had to make it. I made a short film version of it back then, 2019. And just to out of urgency to just play this role that I really fell in love with. uh did that short film, put it on YouTube, and then just kind of forgot about it. And then through the years as an actor, um I met a lot of great people, as the ones on this podcast. And with one of my great friends, Johnny Ray, who helped me come up with the story of Ambrosio, the feature film. Yeah, he was very encouraging with bringing it back to life. We were watching Nicolas Cage's Renfield movie.
That was a good one.
Yeah, yeah, in 23, and I really liked the way Nick was dressed in that. And I was like, man, I kind of like what he's wearing. And Johnny was like, yeah, we should make a vampire movie. And I was like, funny you should say that. I made one with bad sound and bad editing and bad cinematography back when I first started acting, pretty much. And he was like, well, it can't be that bad. And then I was like, oh, it can be that bad. And he was like, well, send it over. And I sent it, and he was like, it's not that bad. I've seen worse. And I was like, well, thanks, Johnny. That was very encouraging. And and yeah, we just kind of, his encouragement is what brought me back to this character, and I'm very grateful for that. And that's why, I wanted the first scene to be with Johnny in it. But yeah, I mean that it was nice to be able to start off with him, who brought me back to this great character. So hope that
And I
hope
gotta
that.
say, I didn't even know Johnny could act, but I thought he pulled it off so well.
Well, yeah, I think when you stand behind the camera long enough, Dwayne, you see a bunch of actors doing their thing. I think you I think Dwayne could probably act, and we probably just don't know it yet. You
You
filmed
don't ever want to
back.
put me on the
No, it is a super original film. I mean, most vampire movies I watch, the vampires are playing baseball and they glisten and they live in the Pacific Northwest. So this was really different. There was no baseball. That's a big spoiler. Sorry for the people expecting that. But that was a very good film. I didn't know about the mythology about it. It's kind of neat. If you're into Greek mythology, it's something you'd probably really be into, because I've never seen a film that was like this. And I looked into it after, and it was pretty neat legend.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm half Greek on my dad's side, and I used to you know read a lot of different uh, Greek myths and stuff. I mean, Hollywood's done Hercules over and over again, and we've seen the Troy with Brad Pitt, and and now Chris Nolan's doing the Odyssey, kind of a retelling of with Odysseus being the focus. But yeah, I think there's a lot of great Greek myths out there that Hollywood could make. I know they did a good job with the Clash of the Titans and Wrath of the Titans, but I just thought it was so interesting having the vampire element in Greek mythology, because you just don't really, I don't know, I had never put those two together, and I thought it was a unique little story that no one's ever heard of, and so I thought it was a cool opportunity to tackle.
And though the film does address the myth and is heavily inspired by the myth, 95% of the film does take place in modern day.
Right.
And
right.
all of that was completely original.
Yeah,
And just building upon the foundation that the myth laid out.
Absolutely. We tried to make the story as relatable as possible, with the subject matter being heavily fantasy and myth, and but yeah, we were happy to bring to light some very human and things. We definitely go to some darker places in the story, just shining light on like some domestic violence, and um and other things, just to keep the story as grounded as possible, while paying homage to the fantasy and the those elements as well.
Yeah, the script is what drew me to the film, because I know that you and Johnny originally wrote the screen, or like an early version of it, and then you had Taz Lake come in and finesse it a little bit, right? And he's the one that kind of flushed out the feature, right?
Yeah, it was Johnny and I basically were coming up with, okay, what if we made this film modern day? What would the beginning, middle, end be? And we even brought in Matt Tangman, who's another great screenwriter, and the three of us kind of came up with the story. And based on the story, I wrote the first screenplay, which
short.
Yeah, and it was going to be we were going to do a short film again, but we were going to do it. We were going to do like 3 shorts, and then we were like, "What's the point of doing 3 shorts? Just might as well just make the feature."
True.
And that's when I approached Taz, and I was like, "I have basically a first act. Can you help me with, expanding this with some of your ideas?" And he totally took that and expanded it, and that's what made. And we were so happy with what Taz brought back with, and we were just itching to shoot it. It was like draft 4 or 5 that we were like, let's pull the trigger, let's go, let's get dates.
Yeah, he's such a talented author and or writer, and so yeah, man, when you brought this to me, I'm like, oh yeah, I got to be a part of this. So yeah.
Well, let me ask you this, because I'm really curious, if you don't mind me asking. But what was the budget on the film?
It was very
How did
low.
it start? How did it end?
Very low, very low. We ended at 25 grand. It was very low. It was yeah, I mean, we were starting out thinking it was going to be 15, 20, and then it ended up being 25 with all the required delivery stuff, and and yeah, just just the proper licensing and copyrights,
but pretty much as shoestring of a budget that you can
Oh,
possibly
yeah.
manage.
That's why with these three people here. We have like not just one title, it's like all these different titles.
Yeah.
Like Sean Baker said on the Oscar stage, in any film you wear a bunch of different hats, obviously, you're a filmmaker as well, Ryan. And yeah. And when you're doing what you love, it doesn't feel like work, does it? Right, babe?
That's what they say.
That's right. You said there's a very small budget and then 25 grand. I do micro budgets, man. I'm like Roger Corman. That's my hero. Just, filming something on a budget. If you got the set, you might as well make, 3 films with that while you still have the time. Um, that's I made a little movie and that was like 3 grand, but I have heard like an aggregator. Did you have to go through one of those?
An aggregator?
Yeah. You know what I'm talking about?
I don't.
I don't know.
So I used to intern for a guy who owned a distribution company.
Oh,
He was a professor at my college, although I never had any of his classes or anything. But he said it costs like 10 grand to get an aggregator. And basically, I guess it's a guy who shops that out to Netflix and like Tubi and stuff. But I could be like, you know,
If they're handling
incorrect.
all the paperwork and all of the quality inspections and all of those documents that are required for distribution, that seems reasonable because of the
Mhm.
labor involved and the cost of just doing those things.
The
right.
insurance too.
Yes. So yeah, that tracks.
Yeah.
We
Okay.
did all of that ourselves, and we were fortunate to have Phil Blattenberger, who's a writer director himself,
Mentor us. I
and
work.
help pitch the film to sales agencies on our behalf.
Yeah, it's no man's an island. I may be titled as director and star and whatever, but it really took a village. I mean, I can't give these two individuals enough thanks. All the hours of labor, months of labor, and accumulated to a year and a half of work put in. But also with Phil's mentorship. I worked with Phil on two of his movies with day player roles, but they were great projects with Harvey Keitel starring in one, and the other with Arnold Vosloo from The Mummy, and so Phil was very very open to helping us out and helping me with what I need to do to get this film to get to that next level and find distribution and I also learned a lot about the film as a business, because before this I'd only really been an actor and have put in a helping hand when it came to like producing some other projects, but this was an awesome um, learning experience as well.
How did you guys manage to get the budget? Did you do like GoFundMe or Kickstarter, or did you self-finance? How did that look for any of the
It
aspiring producers in the audience?
so as far as executive producing, through those years of working as an actor, I've met great guys on different sets that that were producing other projects or those projects, and we just got along well. And Keith Cole, I'll put his name out there. I was cast in a Power Rangers fan film that he was producing out in Springfield, Missouri. I flew out there and fought in the snow for 10 days. And but no, me and him got really close, and he became a great guy and contact to have, and he's helped me fund all kinds of short projects and now feature length. He's so basically friends in the industry like that. Um, you know,
And working a lot of extra hours to save up.
working a lot of extra hours to save up on our end. And yeah, between all that, we managed to get all that together.
And it also helped that we filmed over the course of 6 months.
Oh yes.
So we didn't film this consecutively in 1 week where we needed to have all that money available all at once. It was broken up one weekend a month in January, February, March, and then we took a 2-month hiatus from filming to allow the executive producers to kind of raise some more funds to be able to support that final weekend of shooting. So that definitely helped, because when you're breaking it up into 4 separate segments of shooting, it's a lot more of
it also, yeah, and it was also between Dwayne and I that kind of came up with that kind of formula, because Dwayne, you've been in the film industry for how long, Dwayne?
08, 2008, when we made our first short film.
Yeah, and Dwayne I met on all the 48-hour film projects and competitions and races, and Dwayne was always the former champion in the room. He has won at these film festivals and won the 48 like 5 times, and so he knew what he was talking about when it came to shooting films and editing efficiently, under pressure like time. And but this was Dwayne's first feature film, and with that there was it's a different undertaking, right? You got a lot more to shoot. So Dwayne and I were like, I was like, well, Dwayne, why don't we shoot this like a 48? We do 1 weekend a month. That way you've got a whole month to edit, that way you've got, something, and it gives us time to prep for the next weekend. It gives the actors time to rehearse more. It gives my investors time to, to either work more or whatever they got to do, or whatever we got to do to put more or meet that requirement for the budget. And it just really helped us out. And so, yeah, we just did it that way, just so when it came down to post-production, we had, a lot of the movie already finished, with coloring and all that good stuff. So
that's great. One thing I did want to bring up to you guys and for the audience is I pretty much self-financed my first feature. I want to make another, but details to come on that. I don't have a script yet or anything, but I think what really inspired me, or what really like kind of pushed me off the ledge and like was like, all right, now I'm committed to doing this, was November of 2020, I believe it was. I'm a big Kevin Smith fan. Like, I love Clerks. It's just stuff like that, and just that his old way of filmmaking. It's inspirational. I'm sure you guys are familiar, at least if you haven't seen Clerks. Dwayne, looks like you're like, yeah, man, rock on. Kevin, a few years ago, posted on Instagram the budget breakdown for Clerks, and I remember seeing that, thinking like, well, why can't I do that? Because it was like $25,000 or something like that. But see, back in those days, it was all shot on film, and that was so much of the budget. That's a really great soundtrack he had, but it was like actual music, licensing for music. Even if they're nobodies, is so much. So it kind of deduced that in the digital age, you could cut so much of those costs, and that's what I ended up doing is just seeing like what I could kind of like excise from that budget and see what's still kind of relevant. I think because he shot on film, and then like a film editing uh machine or whatever, like that was a ridiculous amount of money. And you're like, we have iMovie at the very least. We have, DaVinci Resolve. So it's daunting to make a film for sure. It's so expensive, but we live in an age where you have a camera in your pocket, your big concern should be sound more than anything.
Mhm.
And that's the biggest advice I can give anyone. I'm sure you guys can sign off
Totally
on that.
agree.
Yeah, and that's one thing too. Like with shooting this film at the time in which we shot it. I mean, I had crew members coming up to me on set, thanking me for the opportunity because they weren't working because of the strike or whatever. And so it was, I had one actor, they play a role that said thank you for casting me, and it was just it was emotional to be that guy that the actors would thank for the opportunity, because I know what that feels like when you've haven't worked in a long time, or you're just coming back to set, and you can sense that it's the camaraderie on set is great, and you're free to play.
Well,
And
it's your. Sorry, go ahead. Sorry.
no, that's it. Just uh, there's so much potential here in Atlanta. There's so many great, talented people. The budget was we've had some of our reps and stuff. It's 25,000 is what was used, but it looks like a $250,000 film. And that's why they were confident with pitching it, Phil and them, and so, and that's all because of the talented individuals, uh, on the crew, and all the cast are all seasoned working actors that audition all the time, or on sets, all the time, and so everybody's, it wasn't their first rodeo on a set. So it was,
Yeah, you actually had locations, which is big. I mean, you had special effects, like very nice costuming. So yeah, I mean that definitely looked, like a professional production, um, for sure.
Yeah.
You should
Every
pat
time I
yourself on the
showed
back.
up to set, every time I showed up to set, I'd be like, "How did you get this location?" It's just like, that park that looked like right out of Greece, and then that house in Logansville, right? Wasn't that
Yeah.
in Logansville?
yeah.
That,
The
I
the
mean,
house was in Houston, Georgia.
Push.
yeah,
Houston.
I was wondering how that was
And
pronounced.
then and then the ancient Greek stuff was that was Loganville.
yeah,
And all these, yeah, I mean, uh when I did the first Ambrogio, the short film, uh filmmaker Dave Rashkumar, who lives in that area, um recommended that location. He's like, you'll love this, and he showed me around, and I was like, this is perfect. And it was also, um the Houston house, we call it the vampire house. I was on a pilot, for like years ago, and we were shooting there, and they ended up scrapping that project and reshooting it somewhere else. But I just could not get over that house. I was like, man, this is just so cool. I was like, this reminds me of like Tim Burton Batman. Like, it was just so cool. House built in 1800s, 1898, if I'm not mistaken.
Mhm.
And I just, writing the script, I was like, we got to shoot here. And I kept that house in mind, and obviously that park. So,
Because that's the thing, right? You can make a feature for very even less money than what we did, right?
Like
Um,
me.
Guerrilla filmmaking is very popular with indie filmmakers, but in order to even have a chance at distribution, you need to do everything by the book. You need to have permits for all of your locations. You need to have location agreements for everywhere you shoot. You need to have contracts with all your cast and crew. So that's where the budget jumps
your
very,
license,
very quickly.
your licenses for the music,
Stock
if
footage.
your stock footage, if you don't have if you don't have the if it's anything your composer's not doing. And yeah, but it's it was a lot of work, but it was worth it. We're so proud of the film, and happy people are watching it and enjoying it. And
Because it really just depends on what your goals are.
Yeah.
You can put a film on Film Hub and get it on Amazon or Tubi or some other smaller streaming platforms, and do it more the true indie, I guess people might say, guerrilla style of just run and gun and shoot your film. But as soon as Alex was saying, you're trying to kind of make film as a business and try to potentially earn some money back from it. Yeah, I mean, that's the thing about this industry, right? You have to put money in before you get money out.
Yep.
So we're just.
And also this fun thing called marketing. I mean, a lot of filmmakers here, indie filmmakers here, they put all of their eggs into the basket of just making the film, but they don't think about
Getting it out there.
Getting out there and how to do that, and to work with representatives or what have you. So yeah, I mean, it's all part of it. And now it's celebration time, but at the same time, it's also time to let people know, such as yourself, that we made a movie and that it's out there to watch and enjoy. So.
Yeah, super cool. It is a lot. I used to think like, oh, producing, that's probably the easiest part. I mean, you gotta come up with like an idea and write 90 pages, and then you gotta make the thing. But fun fact, guys, I have gray hair. This is all hair dye because producing made me go gray. It's stressful, but you do what you need to do. And certain point, I don't know, you're kind of locked in. You're like, oh, well, this is keeping me up at night, but we got to make it. So
Yeah, we've definitely spewed a couple grays for this movie. It's I think I speak on behalf of the three of us. It is a lot of work, but I think we all saw the potential in what we were doing. With Dwayne's stuff behind the camera and editing, and our stuff with acting and the story, and Angelina's choreography, and shout out to Tony O'Hara for his fight choreography, and Noah's music. We all just had such there's so much potential there. Everyone was just doing so great at what they were doing. We just that's what really got I guess me through, because you're the leader leading the ship, and you want to make sure that you guide through every storm with as much grace as you can. I mean, it gets frustrating at times, but like, we had 6 extremely smooth shooting days where we were killing it. Like, we shot 19 pages in one day, and then we shot 32 pages that weekend, but 19 the first day. And but then on our 7th day, and then the next day was a half day, we're fighting rain. We were fighting
technology.
Dwayne's batteries wouldn't charge. There was rain coming in and out. There were fight scenes that day that were outside. Then we had to kind of pivot those and kind of move them to a different location. Thank God we had like a pretty big location to play with, so we were able to make it work. But yeah, it was a very long day, night, overnight shoot. And yeah, and with all that stuff going on, it was just I knew that when you one thing about directing is everyone's looking at you all the time,
yeah.
for and it's and it's okay not to have every single thing answered, and it's okay that if one thing I learned about directing is not you know not every great idea has to come from you, you know, and learning to surrender that and leave your ego at the door. Like Dwayne could have, like, I have my idea of the scene, but Dwayne could have his idea, and his idea could be better. Same as Ange, same as Phil or whoever, right? So it's like, so being open to that. I mean, you don't have to be a complete pushover, just but it's like knowing, you know, to let the people that you've brought around your orbit of this film collaborate, create, have fun, and also you brought them in for their expertise, you know, stuff that I don't know anything about cameras. Yeah, that's why I have, Dwayne. And I didn't know anything about dance choreo. I didn't know anything about fight choreo. I didn't know anything. I mean, and that's the thing, is having the right people around and communicating what you want, or your idea, and then they can even or they can shoot it that way, or they can hey, that's a great idea. What if we shot it like this, or what if we did it like this, and it could be better, so I'm grateful for my team. I really hope you guys had a great time doing it as much as I did, because I just love working and love working with, these people.
Yeah.
So
Alex, you were such a dream to work with, and I just got to say that, I enjoyed learning from you. And I know this is your first time directing, but I still learn from you, and it was just, every day, even though you were throwing so many curves sometimes, it was just it just felt so smooth sailing, uh, even though those things were thrown at us, and I think it attributes to you and Angelina, so.
thanks, Dwayne. It means a lot, man. And yeah, it's when you've got professional people, crew, cast that it's not their first rodeo. It makes my life so much easier, and everybody on this film, Ryan, were like directly offered. I didn't hold auditions. I didn't do any of that. I mean, I didn't even. There wasn't even like interviews or anything. It was it was just like,
Hey, you want to help me?
it was like, well, it's I had worked with Dwayne, I had worked with Ange, I had worked with the actor played Dracula, Nakoa, I worked with Hades many times, Mitch. I worked with all these people, Johnny Ray, of course, and so I knew what they were made of, and I knew what they could bring. And even though the circumstances were, a little different, I mean, it was a, fantasy vampire romance type of film. We had never really done that together before. Dwayne and I briefly did on a 48, where I wasn't the vampire; it was a vampire film. But yeah, I mean, it was just great. I can't, I can't give my team enough credit. It really took a village.
And that's how you know that he's a good director, because he can't give his team enough credit. You don't
That's
have many directors that are quick to say that, and Alex is not only quick to say it, but he's consistent in saying
Yeah.
it. And instead of putting the spotlight on himself, as he deserves to, for all of the different hats that he wore for this film, he's still quick to reflect that light back on everybody else, which just goes to show right there just how humble and collaborative he was throughout the entire process. A very educational and just what's the word I'm looking for? Just conducive to learning. When it's your first time doing anything, it can very quickly become overwhelming for a variety of reasons, even when everything's going well. But then when everything isn't going well, if you don't have a leader who is willing to put their pride aside, is willing to put their ego behind the door, to just help things move forward, help make sure everybody has what they need to be successful, um, it really makes for a beautiful result, as you can see.
And that's such an important quality in leadership is trust. Like not even holding audition, just saying, "Hey, I trust you in this role,"
Mhm.
because the film's your baby. You want the right people.
Yeah.
But it's trust. Like I trust you, you're my friend, I know you, and I trust you'll do a great job. And that's important. That's humbling. That shows character for
Definitely.
sure. And at the end of the day, then what it becomes is, I guess all our dreams is just to be able to make movies with our friends, and
Yeah,
have a good time. And that's the culture on set must have been really great.
it
Must
was.
have been really something really special.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun, and I also loved um, throwing a challenge at my cast. When it came to like the accents, and I'm often cast in things where I'm required to do an accent, whether it's South America somewhere or Europe or different parts of the U.S. But I mean, my cast really rocked it. I mean, there was Greek accents thrown around with the Greek gods. There was my Italian accent. Um, Nicoa doing the for Dracula the Transylvanian accent. It was just
Mhm.
awesome, and it was just cool to you know talk to the cast beforehand, like, hey, this is my idea for it. I know, like Gladiator, they all sound British, and with Clash of the Titans, they sound British. But if being Greek, I want to hear some Greek accents with my Greek gods. If you guys are, if you guys could do that for me, that'd be really wonderful. And they really did great. Everyone, and so it was really cool to see that from such experienced actors that have been a part of such a lot bigger projects than this. Seeing that their humbleness come through and being able to just play, collaborate, work, and just strive for that truth of that character and try to make it right.
Final question. This is a very important one. This is for everyone. I really want to hear honesty. This is this might cause fights, but what is your favorite vampire movie?
I guess I'll go first, if it's not too obvious. Um, I really, in my research with the vampire genre, favorite shows, Vampire Diaries, and I just love Ian Somerhalder as Damon Salvatore in that. Um, my favorite movie though, Interview with a Vampire. I don't know. It's got that nice level of like the spookiness, but also the romance element. Like they just kind of like you know had a great flair of both. Where a lot of vampire movies are either like scary and like, and then you've got them that are like so romantic and they look so perfect. And I just felt like it was a good balance of the romance and then the intensity. I just love Brad Pitt and Tom Cruise in Interview with a Vampire.
For me, I would have to say Renfield because I'm not a horror person. I don't enjoy being scared. I'm not a fan of that kind of entertainment. So I, for the most part, steer away from most vampire content. But I love a good comedy, and the gore of Renfield was more of like a comic violence than anything else because it was just kind of outrageous and campy in some senses. But it was also just a very funny
Yeah.
movie, and I enjoy anything Aquafina's in.
Yeah, I loved Renfield. Yeah.
Yeah, that was a really fun one. What about you, Dwayne?
Yeah, Renfield definitely high up there, but an odd probably choice is just recently, I think in 2021, Night Teeth.
Oh
You guys
yeah,
probably never even seen it, but
I've heard of it.
okay, I think it might have been a Netflix film maybe. But the story was good, wasn't great, but it was more the cinematography and the color,
Mm.
that I just fell in love with. I probably watched it like 3 times, and I hardly ever watch a movie more than once these days. But yeah, that stands out to me as one of my favorites recently. So
I'm not gonna say like I'm a vampire movie enthusiast because I haven't seen like all the Nosferatus. I saw the new one and I didn't love it. It was fine. Um, but I've seen a decent amount. Uh, I want to shout out. I'm kind of between two movies, which would be my fave. There's one you guys would love, and that's What We Do in the Shadows. Have you
Hmm,
guys seen that?
I've heard of that one.
oh, I gotta write that down.
What We Do in the Shadows. It's Taika Waititi, and I think it came out in like 2014, and then it became like a show on FX. It's really funny. It's I haven't seen it in a few years, but it's Taika Waititi is a vampire living with other vampires,
Oh
and
wow.
there's like he's like Dracula, and then there's like this edgy like emo vampire that's supposed to be like Twilight, and there's one that's like
Oh
supposed to
dude.
be Nosferatu. It's hilarious. Like Taika Waititi, honestly, like I'll agree he fell off. He hasn't made anything really good since probably Jojo Rabbit, but What We Do in the Shadows
Mm.
is it might be low key one of my favorite comedies. If you
Hmm.
guys like Renfield, you would
Oh,
love this. Like
Okay.
I liked Renfield, but I love What We Do in the Shadows. And the show, from what I've seen, a little bit of it is pretty funny too. Um, that is
Well,
a
cool.
that's a great movie. I cannot recommend it enough.
okay.
It's in that mockumentary style too. It's just
Oh
like
wow.
vampires just chilling in a house.
That's
And
This sounds in his face looking at that photo on IMDb.
so
I'm already
incredible. But my favorite, it probably really has to be Fright Night from 1985.
Friday night.
Friday night. I forgot about that one.
Yeah. Uh,
Wow.
that was one I saw in high school and just loved it. I used to watch it like
Yeah.
every year for like 10 years or something. I haven't seen it forever, but I didn't see the new one, but it's just quintessential 80s cheese. Um,
Yeah.
Yeah.
these
Uh,
vampires move in next door
yeah.
and a guy like sees them like killing someone and he knows they're vampires and they know that he knows and he has to get like Dwayne, what was it? It was like um an Elvira type show. Like he has to get the
Yeah.
TV show host who's like a
That's
vampire
right.
killer and he's like, "Dude, you're a vampire killer on TV. You have to help me." And he's like, "Dude, that was a TV show. I'm a washed up actor." Like, what are you talking about? It's I mean, it's kind of scary, I guess. Not really. It's super cheesy, but I love it. You know, it's just kind of fun.
Johnny's
Yeah,
not
you
here.
make me want to revisit that.
Johnny's not here, but he would say his favorite is Lost Boys. That
Oh
Ooh,
that
yeah.
was when you said 80s. I was like, yeah. I mean, this Johnny will not stop talking about Lost Boys. We were talking today about it, and yeah, that's another great, just classic 80s vampire
Mhm.
film. We were talking about the we were talking about some of your. I showed Angelina the film the other day, and we were talking about he never got bit. Like, how did he become a vampire? And so Johnny was trying to explain it to me on the phone today. Like, oh no, in that world, you don't have to be bit. You just drink the blood, kill, and then and Vampire Diaries it has their way, and so that's what I also love about vampire as a genre. It's just like some of them it's like ooh the garlic and whatever, and then some are like no it's a wooden stake, and then like some it's just like so
The cross.
yeah it
The
was
cross.
the cross, and then it's like so
Yeah.
it's open to, you know, like our vampires don't even fly or turn into bats or anything. And then Renfield, you know, Dracula turns into like many bats. You know, like it's like so it's you know it was great to writing the film and directing the film. It was great to like have a little bit of like open game or open to like you know possibilities in the world. So
I usually, because there aren't many good, like really great comedies out anymore. So I usually don't like bust out laughing when I see something. Like I'll chuckle or I'll smile more often than not. But it's very rare when like a joke has me like really loudly, audibly laughing. But there was one joke in Renfield that did it for me. And I was playing on those concepts. I can't really remember how it went, but um Renfield comes up to his house or something, and Nicolas Cage is already inside, and
yeah.
Renfield's like, "What the hell, man? I didn't invite you in." And he says, "Oh, did you?" And he pulls up like the welcome mat. It says like, "Welcome, come on inside. You know, come on
Welcome.
inside."
Come on in. Yeah.
Yeah, and he's like, "Oh shit!" And that caught me so off guard. Like I just made like I was just like the
Yeah.
loudest asshole in the theater, just like howling at that. It was like brilliant joke. That was all right. Movie, you got me there.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, but yeah, thanks so much for coming on, guys. Definitely, everyone see Ambrogio, the first vampire, on Amazon. It's on there for purchase and for renting. And is it a physical disc coming on a Walmart?
Yes, yeah, it's
Wow, very
available
cool.
physical DVD, Walmart or Amazon. They both have it available. So
I do definitely want to hear what you thought of the film before we hang up, though. If you
Yeah,
want to like add it in the episode, but I'm really curious to hear your thoughts before we hang up tonight.
it was a really great film. And, like if you're into filmmaking, it's always awesome to see someone like you guys make something. Then you kind of think like, oh, well, why don't I make something? Or in my case, why don't I make something again? It was like I said, it was really original. I loved like just how in tune with Greek mythology it was. Like I've never seen like a vampire take on that. Like so often you see like a Dracula riff or a riff on Nosferatu, which I mean is in and of itself a Dracula riff, or a Twilight sort of thing, or riffing on Twilight. So uh, it's definitely a win for originality in film. It's a win for independent cinema. I thought the production value is really great. Like there were great locations. Locations are everything, and it was shot in a way that made it believable. Sound was really good. I've seen a lot of independent films, and this definitely like had a little more to it. You know what I mean? Definitely, like you guys knew what you're doing with this cinematography, the color grading. There are a lot of intentional choices. I definitely have a lot of good things to say. You all should be proud of what you achieved. It's so hard to get any film off the ground, especially when you're working on a small budget or a micro budget. So anytime you see something like that, I mean, that's a win.
Nice.
thanks a lot, Ryan. We really appreciate it, man.
Yeah, I really appreciate you guys. So it's about closing time for the Rock Shop. Where can the audience find you guys?
You can find me with simply my name, Alex Javo, all one word, AlexJavo on Instagram. You can also find me if you just type in my name on Facebook or IMDb.
You can find me on Instagram at Angelina.Buzzelli. That's Angelina period Buzzelli.
What about you,
And
Dwayne?
yeah, you can find me mostly on Facebook. That's about the one social media, that and LinkedIn. You can find me at Dwayne Bontrager. You can probably, I think you might see my name written down at the bottom here. But if you search out Dwayne Bontrager, it should be. I think I'm literally the only Dwayne Bontrager on Facebook.
The one and
Uh,
only.
the one and only. Uh, And then I do have an Instagram, and I got I got the others, but I just I don't monitor them. So
Fair enough.
Facebook's the one to go to.
And I'm primarily on Instagram, RY_THETIGER. So yeah. Till next time. See ya.